Welcome to the Mortgage Servicer Info session on SAFHR for homeowners. So today we're planning about 15 to 20 minutes of content, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. If you, not sure how many of us have been in a Zoom webinar like this before, but if you look at your meeting controls, you'll see chat and Q&A at the bottom. So if you've got a question as we're going through the content here, you can throw it into the Q&A, and we'll address them. If it makes sense to address it as we go through, we'll do that. But most likely we'll get to all the content at the end, or the questions at the end, since the content is pretty short. So feel free to throw questions in Q&A as we go through, and we'll hope to get to all of them at the end. So let's get started. All right, so today we're going to go through a couple parts of the SAFHR program. First, I'm going to do some quick introductions of the panelists that are on the line. So I'm Dan Navalis. I'm CEO of Two Novas. We're a marketing agency based here in St. Louis. On the line, we also have Mac Bradley, who is CEO of Standpoint PR, a PR agency based here in St. Louis. And Mac and I have been working with Mhdc, who administers the SAFHR program, for a little over a year now. Previously on SAFHR for renters, now on SAFHR for homeowners, and we'll be talking more about both about SAFHR, more about Mhdc as we go through. On the line from Mhdc, we've got Steve Whitson, who runs the overall SAFHR program, Rachel Hollenberger, who leads SAFHR for homeowners, and Greg Ochoa, who's the Mhdc's communications lead. So they're on the line to answer questions in the Q&A section at the end. So in terms of the agenda, we're going to kind of quickly go through what SAFHR for homeowners is and where it's funded from. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the program, we'll go through kind of who is Mhdc as the administrator of the program, just to give you the context there. But the main goal of the session today is to talk about how you can sign up as a mortgage servicer and why you should. It's a pretty simple process, so we'll go through the steps there. The other big component of today is to talk about how to get word out to your borrowers that may need the program. So we've got some tips and tricks and helpful materials for you when we get down to that point. All right, so let's jump in. So what is SAFHR for homeowners? It is a new federally funded mortgage reinstatement program that comes to us through the U.S. Treasury and through Mhdc, who we'll talk about on the next slide. SAFHR is the name that has been given in Missouri to the U.S. Treasury Homeowner Assistance Fund, or HAF program, which you may have heard of in other contexts. SAFHR for homeowners launched on March 1st in the state, and there's approximately $140 million in mortgage assistance through the program. According to HUD data, as of the end of February, there were over 16,000 delinquent loans in Missouri. The SAFHR for Homeowners program had about 1,500 applications in the first week alone. So we know there's a lot of need. There's also a lot of work to do to get the word out and make sure that everybody that needs it has heard about the program. The program has an end date out in September 2025, or when funds are exhausted. So there's not like a huge rush to get applications in before a close-in closing date, but the program will close when funds run out. In terms of eligibility and coverage, it's pretty straightforward. The program's been designed so that most Missouri homeowners who need the help will be eligible for it. The program covers primary mortgages only, primary residences. To qualify, a homeowner needs to have a hardship that's been affecting their income or expenses, and they need to attest to that in the application. But in terms of income eligibility, the only requirement is their income must be less than 150% of their area median income, which is a stat we have a table on the website you can look up that's varies based on the county of residence and the number of people in their household. But we expect most people fall into that category. There's a $50,000 maximum coverage per household. That should be fairly generous for most of the mortgage amounts. Mortgage servicers, such as all of you, are paid directly from the program. Just requires a sign-up process, which we'll go through here. And you can apply in as about 15 minutes. Most people can apply pretty quickly. If you have a borrower that has trouble applying, or doesn't have an internet access or access to a computer, MHDC does work with mortgage assistance counseling agencies across the state to help people actually fill out their application or address other legal issues that are related. So I'm going to pull up the application portal now. It's just at saferforhomeowners.com and show you a couple pieces of it. And panelists, as I'm switching my screen up, if anything looks weird, feel free to let me know. So if you go to saferforhomeowners.com, this is the borrower portal, but it's pretty straightforward. So there's a list of required documents. Essentially, people just need an ID. People need a most recent mortgage statement, and then they need to attest to or provide some income verification, and attest to the proof of hardship that I mentioned. When they're ready to apply, you can click Apply Online Now, and it takes you through a quick screening questionnaire asking you if you've experienced a hardship, if you're a resident of Missouri, is the property in Missouri, do you live on the property, and do you have a mortgage, which would help, and then it'll bring you into the application process. So it's pretty straightforward. It's really easy to follow, and we've set this website up to give borrowers all the information they need to get going. MHDC, so as I mentioned, MHDC also works with the mortgage assistance counseling agencies that can help them. On our website, you find access to those, and we'll put the link up for that a bit later. So let me talk a little bit about who MHDC is. MHDC is the Missouri Housing Development Commission, which is a state agency created in 1969 that's dedicated to keeping Missourians in their homes. So prior to the SAFHR program, which launched last year in the pandemic, MHDC has been administering affordable housing programs across the state for a long time. Everything from building affordable housing to providing funding for home loans to qualified first-time buyers through a network of mortgage lenders. So some of you may be familiar with MHDC in that context. Prior to the pandemic, MHDC distributed funds through that network of lenders and nonprofit organizations around the state. But with the huge influx of stimulus funds that have come through in the last couple of years, the SAFHR program was created to provide direct assistance to Missourians. So along the way, we've still been leveraging help from nonprofits, and now that SAFHR for Homeowners is live, we want to work with associations like Missouri Bankers to get the word out and make sure everybody gets the help that they need. So let's dive into how can I sign up as a mortgage servicer. Let me bring this back. Apologies for the switching there. Okay. So first off, why should you sign up, right? Well, first and foremost, it's this program pays you directly for your borrowers that are behind on payments, and signing up is required to receive a payment. So that's probably the biggest incentive that you have. But in general, if you have a borrower that applies to the program and you as a mortgage servicer have not signed up, MHDC will reach out to you to get that sign up process done so that the payments can be the funds can be transferred. So by signing up proactively, by signing up now, even before your borrowers apply, that'll speed up that funding process once your borrowers do apply. You only need to sign up once. You're establishing a relationship between yourself and MHDC. It's not something that's done for each borrower. So, we basically recommend getting this acknowledgement in place before you need it, and then things will be much smoother when the applications come through. So, I'll show you how that works in just a second. So it's all at our website at the link at the bottom here, and let me pop over to that page and show you. So if you go to mohousingresources.com/mortgage-servicers, and we will put this information up. I'll paste it into chat now so that you have it. And then there'll be a slide at the end with all the links to all of these resources that I'm talking through. So it's a pretty simple process. There's a servicer packet that you can download off the site. It's about 8 pages long. It's really just an acknowledgement of the program and the terms of the program. Like I mentioned, it covers all borrower applications. It consists of 3 parts. So there's the acknowledgement and consent. That's the just establishing the relationship between yourself and MHDC. There's a servicer onboarding form where you put in your your organization's point of contact, all the kind of nitty-gritty details about ACH information, and a few other things. And then there's a term sheet that's just for information only, but can kind of give you more of a sense of the information that's collected through the process. So we fill those out, and then they get emailed over to SAFHR.servicer@mhdc.com, and all that's on the website. In terms of the process that happens through this, the way, after a borrower applies, there's a verification and approval process. So, a borrower will apply and say, we owe this much money, here's our mortgage servicer, here's information about our mortgage, and MHDC works to verify, yes, they do owe that much on their mortgage. Here's fees, here's other things associated with it, and we do that by working with you through a common data file format, or CDF format, which a lot of you are probably familiar with, but it's a way that we can communicate and verify information with you, including which funds to apply to which accounts. If you've got multiple borrowers applying, it keeps all of those things in order. It's really just a simple, I won't say simple, but it's a sample. There's a sample CDF Excel file here on the site that you can download and learn more about the format if you're not familiar. Here under CDF Servicer Training, there's also a PowerPoint presentation that'll kind of walk you through how to use the CDF, how to get records into it, and kind of everything you'd ever wanted to know about the process. Once an application is submitted and we verified the information through the CDF process, funds are transferred directly to you with the information that you provide, generally within 5 to 7 business days. Obviously, there's some situations where there might be other circumstances or other pieces to verify, but that's generally how the process will work. What we recommend is, the biggest thing here is fill out this documentation, get it back, email it back over to SAFHR.servicer@mhdc.com. We also recommend assigning a point person or persons to the program. So just somebody that's, MHDC can reach out to, somebody that's familiar with the way this particular CDF and this process works. Will make things smoother down the line, because you will likely have borrowers that, you'll likely have applications on an ongoing basis over time. So that's really the heart of this, is the encouragement to download the packet and fill it out and get it over to us. The second piece, after you sign up, what happens is, we sort of wait for borrowers to apply. You may have heard from, if you've had borrowers that have applied already, you may have heard from MHDC already to work through this process. But in general, the other piece that we're really working on now is, since the program is live, is getting word out across the state. So MHDC is working, and Mac and I are working with MHDC on a statewide advertising and PR campaign to make sure everybody that needs help gets it. So we're running a large ad campaign right now that across search and video, digital ads, social media, broadcast. You may have seen ads, running over the past year for SAFHR for renters, and they've been spinning up through March for SAFHR for homeowners. So hopefully you have, or we'll see our efforts play out here. And we're mentioning this here because, as much as we can run statewide ad campaigns, what we can't do is reach out directly to borrowers. You all, as the mortgage servicers, as the folks that send statements out every month, you have individual borrower contact information. You know who's behind on payments. So we would love very much if you could help us get the word out to borrowers. And to that end, we've created a couple materials for you to use and have some ideas of how different ways that you can help. Let me switch back to this. Oh, sorry, this is not cooperating here. So, since the program pays you directly, we like to think you have an incentive to help us catch up your borrowers on their payments. The more you can inform your borrowers, the more mortgages get caught up. Fewer foreclosure proceedings need to start, and this whole process, once you get into it, is pretty smooth and easy. Like I said, we're running ads, but people will pay attention to a statement. People will pay attention to communications directly from their mortgage lender, especially if they're behind. So a couple ways that you can help. We've got a marketing kit that I'll show you in a second that has pre-made materials for most of these things. But the biggest way I think is email. If you've got email addresses of borrowers, if you can create a targeted list of borrowers that are behind on payments and let them know about this program, we think that's going to be a great way to say, hey, we know you're behind. The bank supports this program. Please apply. We'll help you through the process or get you connected to what you need. Digital and in branch, if I know some of you might just be kind of mortgage only, might not have customers coming into a branch, but if you're a traditional bank and you've got brick and mortar, we've got materials in the marketing kit for print brochures, drive up window flyers you can tape up in the drive up. We've got digital assets that, could be a pop-up banner in an online payment portal or a homepage slider on the website, those types of things. Mail, if you do mail statement stuffers out, I know a lot of banks don't have email addresses on 100% of their customers. So for those customers that you don't, we have a statement stuffer ad to use that could go out in mortgage statements, things like that. It's not required, any of this stuff, you're not required to use it, but we're trying to be kind of as helpful, make the process as easy as possible to get this information out there. I mentioned, the mortgage assistance counseling agencies. So this is the link, and we'll get this into chat and on the last slide as well for getting borrowers to help actually applying. Let's see. Let me hop over to show you open the marketing kit up for you. So off of, sorry for all the clicking here. So at the bottom of the mortgage servicers page that we just looked at, there's another section on informing your customers with some of this information on it. And there's a link to the marketing kit here. So this is just a link to a Dropbox folder with all these materials in it. So you can come in and download all the, download them. There's a brochure, there's, a sample email copy. So you don't have to write the email. You can just sort of customize it for your needs, posters, social media ads, and the full SAFHR for Homeowners logos and other assets. So this is here. This is a resource you can use freely. We're available to help customize or help drop a bank logo in if you need that help as well. So like I said, there's a bunch of different things, and we'll show all these materials up at the end. So we encourage you and hope that you can help us get word out to the program, because it's really, benefits your books, helps your borrowers get caught up on payments, and the money is out there for them. So if you need any assistance or other formats would be helpful for you, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we're happy to help you with that. So we've got a couple Q&As coming in. If you have questions, if you have additional questions that you've thought of as we've gone through this, please feel free to type them in, and we'll start addressing some of these. So let me hop over to Q&A, and I'll reintroduce Steve and Rachel and Greg from Mhdc are here to answer questions. So I'm going to start with a couple questions that have gone into chat. And we'll hop over to the Q&A one. So Crystal is asking, what are some examples of hardships that would qualify somebody for the program?
Yeah, so when it comes to applying an eligibility for the program, we're asking the homeowner to attest to a COVID pandemic related hardship. And that's a pretty broad statement, and we recognize that. So it's not specifically COVID related. They don't have to have been positive for COVID or hospitalized with COVID or any of those scenarios, but some sort of pandemic related hardship. And per Treasury guidance, that hardship had to occur or have continued after January 1st or January 21st of 2020. So within the application, we try to make that pretty simple for the borrower. So they are approached with a screen that says, please explain your hardship to us. They're given some suggestions as to whether it was an increase in expenses or a decrease in income, some examples of those, and then the opportunity to fill out that description.
All right. Back to this slide here. All right, Justin is asking, what if someone inherited a house? The loan is still in the original owner's names. Will this program work for the heir to catch up?
I think for our purposes, the way that we've looked at this is that we need the mortgage to be in the person who's applying's name, because I think it's a question of how it works with the servicer. Because we have the information that's entered into the application is going to be provided to the servicer, and the servicer is going to verify the loan amount and what we actually pay. And that might vary, but generally, I don't know that you guys would be very comfortable paying, or I don't know that we can, if they put like the wrong name on there, the person's name's not on the mortgage, it's difficult for us to actually make that payment. So the guidance we've been giving people is that we try to direct them to some of the legal services that we have available to try and get that mortgage in their names, so that we can actually make the payment on their behalf.
All right. Kevin is asking, so small servicers don't necessarily send monthly statements to borrowers. Can the information that borrowers need to provide or servicers need to provide be built out of the CDF or other types of documentation? Kevin, I assume you're asking kind of about the information that the borrowers need to apply or need to provide in the application process. Can you let me see if I can make you... Okay, yes, that's correct. Sorry. Learning the Zoom webinar controls myself sometimes. But Rachel, I don't know if you can address that, but I don't know if I'll say before that, like you might want to add some stuff to it, but I'll say, in the brochure, in the marketing kit, that's a customer facing or borrower facing brochure that describes some of the information they need to provide. And then if you go to saferforhomeowners.com, there's a list of required documentation there that will show them, here's exactly what needs to be provided. Most of it can come off of their ID and the mortgage statement. But yeah, Rachel, I don't know if you have anything else to add there.
Yeah, so Kevin, that I don't see that being a barrier. So we do direct them to submit their most recent mortgage statement so that we have a good starting point to work from. If they had some sort of delinquency statement, we've been working with escrow shortage statements. Our first priority is to identify exactly who the servicer is. And so that document allows us to identify who we need to communicate with, who we need to contact with. And then through this process, our outreach through the CDF actually requests that information of the servicer. And so while the monthly statement or the delinquency statement or the statement that we receive is going to create that starting point, we are going to directly ask the servicer, what is the past due less fees? What is the escrow shortage? What are these amounts that need to be paid, so that we have that directly from the servicer?
All right. If we utilize a subservicer, does the subservicer need to sign up as well?
So our onboarding form that is made available on the website after the servicer signs the acknowledgement, the onboarding form actually provides that opportunity to list a subservicer if used. And that way we have the contact of the subservicer and are able to coordinate with them to make all of this happen.
All right. I see a couple questions have been in on how delinquent do the borrowers need to be? Is there a minimum on late payments, or does 1 month qualify?
So I referenced some other details in the way of like escrow shortages. We're also looking at deferred payments. So the best way to understand delinquency for the Safer for Homeowners program is that we're looking for a homeowner to be at least 30 days past due on a regular payment, and 60 or more days past due, 60 or more days into a forbearance period.
All right. Can a borrower apply more than once? I see somebody's asking, or Franny's asking, if they apply once and receive funds and get behind again, can they reapply again? If they get, say, 1 month of payment and then 6 months later they're behind again, can they come back and reapply?
Generally, the assistance is meant to be a one-time reinstatement. We do anticipate that the program will probably change from that at some point, but as of right now, it's intended to be just a one-time reinstatement to kind of catch people up, and we're trying to prevent, we're really trying to target those imminent foreclosures. So that's kind of the program designs initially, to kind of provide one-time assistance, catch them up. We do anticipate, though, sometime over the coming months that additional services may be added. So there may be opportunity in the future for people to reapply. But as of right now, it's a one-time assistance.
All right. On debt verification, how is that? How is I assume you're talking about the CDF process here, but how is the communication on the verification steps protected or secured?
So we are working with a software vendor for our portal, the application portal that we use. And similarly, we have worked with them to set up an SFTP site that we can grant servicers credentials to, so that any of that communication is happening through that SFTP site.
All right. What was the date after for the hardship to start?
I can type that in, but it is January 21st of 2020. The other probably good clarification to provide is that we are looking for evidence that that hardship lasted or occurred after the home was purchased. So we have run into some scenarios where a borrower is saying, well, I did experience a hardship, but my home purchase occurred after that fact. And so the hardship does have to clarify for us, identify for us that it impacted their ability to pay their mortgage and therefore had to occur or continue after the home was purchased.
All right. Can the note be ag purpose tied to the borrower's primary residence? I assume this is for like an additional loan for ag purposes that are related to the primary residence, or part of a farm loan type of thing. Aaron, feel free to type more clarification in if needed, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I fully understand the question, but the program is meant to be for the primary residence to prevent foreclosure of the primary residence that the person is currently living in. So the idea would just be to try and keep people in their homes, and so that's generally the focus of the program.
Oh, Aaron's saying, so for example, purchase of a home, like a home that comes with 100 acres of land.
Yeah, we wouldn't make a distinction there. So as long as it's their primary residence, that where they currently reside, and they meet the other qualifications, like as far as income, and they're delinquent, then we would pay that, yes.
Okay. Great. Jane says we service loans outside of Missouri as well. Where can she find the websites for the other states? I probably know that answer, but Rachel, if you can paste that into chat or like the link, or if you have a
Sure.
good way to do it.
I'll share that link. So the National Council of State Housing Agencies has gathered that detail together. So there is a really handy map where you can click based on the state and find their relevant website for Homeowner Assistance Fund. And so I'll share that into the chat for everyone to see.
Okay. Is there a cost to the borrower or servicer? Does the borrower need to report or pay taxes on the funds?
No, there is no cost to the servicer or borrower. The payment they would report their taxes as if just like like they would their normal mortgage stuff. So there's nothing additional, at least as far as Treasury has released at this time. There should never be a cost to either the borrower or the servicer. As far as how those are reported on their taxes at this time, unless the U.S. Treasury makes a change, they do not need to report that.
Would a loan on a mobile home only, if it's their primary residence, would that be covered in this program?
It would have to be affixed to real property. That is the clarification we give for any kind of mobile homes or manufactured housing. But we are able to help with those, yes.
Great. And then I think, John, I see John Gideon. I see you've raised your hand, so I'll unmute you here if you have a question. John, are you still there? All right. John may have left. John, if you still have a question, feel free to type it in here. But that is all the questions I see having come through. So, and I know we're right at 11, well, we're a minute or two past 11:30, but if you have any other questions, this is a good slide to screenshot. If Mac well, here, let me paste some of these into chat because some of these URLs are long. We've got a couple ways that you can get in contact with us. So there's safer.servicer@mhdc.com. If you need help on the marketing materials, and I see Tracy just asked if the marketing kit is accessible. It is. It's at this mortgage servicer's page. So I'll paste these links into chat here. If you want to copy them down. So the marketing material kit is accessible. If you have trouble accessing it, it's through Dropbox. If that's blocked from your organization or something like that, feel free to email this info@twonovas.com email address, and we can email you over a zip file of all the materials there. There's also some borrower contact information here. That's also in the marketing kit materials that you can send out to borrowers. We'll have this information in there. But know that there's separate contact information for them. So I think we've addressed all the questions, but you've got our email addresses if other questions come up along the way. Hope that you can all go in and fill out the forms, make use of the marketing kit. There's also a bi-weekly newsletter that'll keep you up to date on changes to the program. So I've pasted the sign-up form for that into chat as well. And other than that, we appreciate all of your time. Thank you for joining us today, and hope you have a productive rest of the day.